The year is 1955. It is deep beneath the frozen earth of Berlin, a city scarred by war and irrevocably bisected by ideology. The air down here is thick, stale, and silent, save for the rhythmic metallic clinking of spades against rock, dampened by special acoustic paneling. Not 5 feet above, East German guards patrol the surface. They are unaware that a geological operation of impossible ambition is unfolding directly under their boots. This is Operation Gold, later known by its Soviet codename, Operation Solo. It is a 450-meter-long subterranean tunnel, dug with back-breaking secrecy from the American sector of West Berlin, burrowing its way into the Soviet sector of East Germany. Its target? 3 massive, buried copper cables, the communication arteries of the Soviet military command and the KGB itself. The operation was audacious, a physical testament to the desperation for intelligence. It was costly, requiring millions of dollars and countless hours of meticulous engineering to shore up the sandy Berlin soil and ensure every speck of dirt was removed and hidden in plain sight. And for a time, it was wildly successful. For 11 long months, intelligence officers from the CIA and Britain's MI6 listened in, harvesting a staggering 400,000 conversations and 40 tons of transcribed Soviet communication. They heard troop movements, diplomatic discussions, and details of their own Soviet counterpart, the KGB, the world's most formidable counterintelligence service. This was the ultimate cat-and-mouse game, played not with guns or car chases, but with engineering, tradecraft, and technology. It was espionage distilled to its purest, most dangerous form, the silent, invisible theft of secrets that held the power to redraw the maps of the world. But here is the chilling truth. The kind of dark twist only real espionage provides, the Soviets knew. They had known almost from the moment the first shovel hit the dirt. The entire operation, the tunnel, the wiretaps, the 40 tons of invaluable intelligence, was compromised by a mole. An invisible saboteur burrowed deep inside the MI6 infrastructure. The KGB had simply allowed the operation to continue, feeding the West a stream of fabricated, misleading, or carefully selected true information, turning an Allied triumph into a Soviet psychological weapon. This paradox, the sheer brilliance of the technology used to steal secrets, and the utter fragility of the human network built to protect them, defines the entire history of espionage. And it is precisely where we begin our deep dive into the spy tech files. The Cold War was not a conflict of armies, but a war of information. The physical wall that divided Berlin was nothing compared to the walls of secrecy that divided Washington, London, and Moscow. On one side stood the CIA and MI6, focused on global projection and influence. On the other, the KGB and its East German satellite, the Stasi, which focused on absolute internal control, pervasive paranoia, and the cultivation of an unparalleled counterintelligence apparatus. The core of this conflict was fought with gadgets, the tools of the invisible war. These weren't the fantasy devices of fiction. They were masterpieces of miniaturization and ingenious misdirection, built by engineers who understood that sometimes the simplest mechanism is the most secure. Take, for instance, the legendary Minox sub-miniature camera, developed originally in pre-war Latvia. This camera became the photographic workhorse for intelligence agencies globally. It was truly sub-miniature, small enough to fit in the palm of your hand, disguised as a cigarette lighter, or, famously, integrated into a wristwatch. Its genius was in its film. It used a tiny strip, producing negatives barely 88 millimeters in size. This seemingly insignificant piece of technology allowed agents to photograph hundreds of pages of classified documents, treaties, blueprints, communication ciphers in minutes. All of this was done while concealed within a diplomatic briefcase or sewn into the lining of a coat. The limitations were real. Getting the perfect focus required tradecraft perfection, and processing the unique film was a complex, isolated process. But the sheer volume of information that could be stolen and smuggled out made it priceless. For decades, the Minox was synonymous with the spy, representing the perfect blend of compactness and capability. The Soviets, however, were masters of passive, long-term surveillance, and their technological coup remains, to this day, one of the most stunning examples of engineering espionage. This brings us to a crucial chapter in our declassified history, the Great Seal Bug, or what the Americans called the Thing. The incident was simple. In 1945, the Soviet young pioneers presented the U.S. ambassador Averell Harriman with a gift, a beautifully carved wooden replica of the Great Seal of the United States. It was hung in the ambassador's Moscow office. For 7 years, this seemingly harmless piece of decor was a listening device, capturing and broadcasting every word spoken in the ambassador's most private sanctum. The brilliant part, the true masterstroke, was that the device had no power source, no batteries, and no wires. The KGB's engineers, led by the legendary acoustician Leon Theremin, had invented a resonant cavity bug. It was essentially a tiny microphone attached to a quarter-wave antenna within the wooden carving. When the Soviets wanted to listen, they would aim a powerful, hidden radio beam at the office from a nearby building, such as a Soviet apartment block. The beam would energize the device, causing its tiny diaphragm to vibrate with the sound waves from the room. The device then passively re-radiated the radio signal, modulated with the voices from the office, back to the Soviet receiving station. It was invisible, undetectable by standard electronic sweep equipment of the era, and it ran entirely on stolen electromagnetic energy. It wasn't until 1952 that a British radio operator accidentally discovered it while sweeping for stray Soviet signals. This single device, revealed only by chance, revolutionized both espionage and counter-surveillance worldwide. But the game of shadows was not limited to hardware. At its core, it was about cryptology. Both sides relied on theoretically unbreakable codes, often based on one-time pads, OTPs. The premise is simple, elegant, and mathematically absolute. A code key, or pad, is used only once, and the key is truly random, ensuring that the message is theoretically impossible to crack. The security of the OTP is total if the pad is truly random and if it is never reused. When a KGB analyst in Moscow could read a CIA field report, it didn't necessarily mean they had cracked the core algorithm. It meant one of two things. Either they had a human source, a spy who possessed the original key, or the key itself had been compromised, possibly by a disastrous error of reuse. The latter, known as a depth in cryptology, was a major focus for codebreakers. They hunted for subtle repetitions in the intercepted traffic, desperate for a tiny flaw that could unravel an entire network. This, too, became a pivotal moment in our declassified history, when massive, coordinated breaches, notably against Soviet cipher systems during and immediately after World War II, led to the identification and neutralization of countless agents in the West. These intelligence operations, involving the comparison of reused cryptographic keys, showed that even the most secure systems are vulnerable to human error. Meanwhile, the East German Stasi operated under a different technological paradigm: mass, ubiquitous psychological surveillance. Their primary technologies were the file cabinet and the psychological profile. While the CIA chased satellites and the KGB chased signals, the Stasi perfected the art of the inoffizielle Mitarbeiter, or informal collaborator. By the time the Berlin Wall fell, the Stasi had compiled 6 million paper files on its own citizens. They did this using an estimated 174,000 informants. Their primary weapon was not a miniature bug or a high-tech camera, but the fear of betrayal, the constant, chilling knowledge that anyone, even your neighbor, spouse, or child, could be reporting on your actions. This is arguably the darkest chapter in the history of intelligence operations, proving that sometimes the simplest, most invasive form of tech, the pen, paper, and pervasive bureaucracy, can be the most destructive. The entire Cold War intelligence infrastructure was built on this tension: the dazzling ingenuity of covert hardware versus the inescapable reality of human failure and betrayal. The spy had to master both the machine and the mind. The Cold War ended. The walls came down. and the physical tunnel under Berlin filled with water and mud. The Minox camera, once the apex of covert hardware, became a museum piece. The world believed the age of the spy was over. They were wrong. The mindset of espionage, the core mission to steal secrets and shape narratives, didn't vanish. It simply migrated. The spy didn't hang up his trench coat. He traded it for a comfortable office chair and a high-speed fiber connection. We pivoted from the world of analog hardware to the world of digital software. The modern battlefield is not a physical border. It is the network layer. The strategic goal remains the same: penetrate the enemy's most secure communications. But instead of digging a tunnel beneath a foreign embassy, today's operatives write a zero-day exploit, a piece of malicious code designed to take advantage of a vulnerability the software manufacturer doesn't even know exists. It's a key that unlocks any digital door. Guaranteed. The Great Seal bug, which required a massive external radio transmitter to function, has been replaced by persistent malware software that lives silently inside a target system, waiting for a remote command. This malware feeds back financial data, intellectual property, and strategic planning, consuming only a few packets of network traffic, leaving virtually no trace. This digital surveillance is instant, global, and operates at the speed of light. The most effective tradecraft of the modern intelligence officer is now social engineering. Why risk life and limb recruiting a double agent inside a hostile government agency when you can craft a perfect phishing email? An email, complete with authentic-looking logos and a believable pretext, can trick a target into giving away their credentials, opening the digital front door for the intelligence service. This simple, elegant, psychological manipulation, the digital equivalent of a spy offering a briefcase full of money, is now the most efficient way to achieve deep access. The Stasi's 6 million paper files have been replaced by the global data footprint. Every email, every social media interaction, every purchase, and every location ping is now a data point available to state-level actors. Modern intelligence agencies, from the NSA to Russia's FSB and China's MSS, no longer need thousands of human informants. They need algorithms capable of processing petabytes of data, searching for anomalies and building comprehensive psychological profiles in milliseconds. The focus has shifted from who you are talking to what you are searching for, and who you are connected to. The Cold War was defined by plausible deniability. Today's digital espionage is defined by strategic ambiguity. Cyber operations, like election interference or the sabotage of critical infrastructure, can be launched from anywhere, bounced through multiple servers, and disguised with false flags. It is a new, pervasive, and often untraceable shadow war, where the enemy is a phantom, and the battlefield is your own hard drive. If intelligence agencies have adapted their tradecraft to the digital world, then the common citizen must, by necessity, adopt a mindset of counterintelligence for the common citizen. In this new war for information, you are not just a user, you are a target, and your personal data is the currency. We need to apply the vigilance of the Cold War agent to our everyday digital lives. Your home network is now your embassy, and your computer is your secure vault. Here is your essential, high-value brief on fighting, preventing, and recovering from modern cybercrime and digital age threats. 1. The principle of isolation. Segment your digital life. A Cold War agent never put all their crucial assets in one location. You shouldn't either. Actionable step. Multi-factor authentication. Implement MFA on every critical account, like email, bank, cloud storage. Use an authenticator app, not SMS. That second physical barrier defeats 99% of remote credential theft. The asset. Treat your main email and your financial passwords as assets that must be physically isolated from your general use passwords. 2. The principle of code word change, robust password hygiene. The cryptographic key must be unique for every communication. Actionable step. Use a password manager. Generate and store long, unique, complex passwords for every single online service. Use a phrase, not a single word. If one vault is compromised, all the others remain secure. Never, under any circumstances, reuse a password. 3. The principle of source verification. Defeating social engineering. If a spy hands you a secret document, You verify the source before you act. Actionable step. Question everything. Do not click on links or download attachments from emails that create a sense of urgency, offer unexpected money, or threaten account closure. If your bank or a major company emails you with a warning, do not click the link. Instead, close the email, manually navigate to the company's official website, and log in securely. This is your personal firewall against phishing. 4. The principle of need to know. Limiting your digital footprint. The fewer people who know a secret, the better. Actionable step. Review social media and permissions. Adjust the privacy settings on all social media platforms to the maximum restrictiveness. Stop granting unnecessary app permissions. Do not use Facebook or Google to log into every third-party application. You are trading convenience for vast amounts of data. Be judicious about what you share. The MSS and FSB thrive on open-source intelligence, or OSINT. 5. The principle of redundancy. Your digital safe house. An intelligence agency always has a safe house and an escape route. You need a safe backup. Actionable step. The 3-2-1 backup strategy. Maintain a 3-2-1 backup strategy for your most precious data. That is, 3 copies of your data on 2 different types of media, with 1 copy stored off-site. This could be in the cloud or on an external drive kept elsewhere. If ransomware locks your primary device, you can simply wipe it clean and restore from an uncompromised source. The threats are no longer just from common criminals. They are from powerful, state-level actors who view your data as part of a larger strategic mosaic. Your defense is simple tradecraft: vigilance, isolation, verification, and redundancy. Be your own counterintelligence operative. We began our journey deep beneath the surface of Berlin, in a physical tunnel of espionage, and we finished in the silent, invisible backdoors of the digital world. The landscape of secrets has changed dramatically, evolving from the precision-machined steel of the Minox camera to the intricate, invisible lines of computer code. But the fundamental truth of espionage endures. Information is power, and the agencies, CIA, KGB, MSS, Mossad, and all their global counterparts still operate in the shadows, using technology to shape our world, our decisions, and our very perception of reality. They have shown us that every piece of technology, no matter how brilliant, carries an inherent vulnerability, a backdoor that can be exploited by those with the right knowledge and the patience to wait. The key to survival in this hyper-connected world is to understand the game, recognize the tools of the modern spy, and apply the principles of counterintelligence to your own digital domain. Stay curious, stay protected, and never stop questioning the information you consume. From all of us here in the vault, this has been Spy Tech Files. We'll see you on the next transmission.